friends and family. My name is Charles, and you're listening to the Foster Dad Directive podcast, where we will explore the foster care system and my experience with it. In this episode, we will actually be talking about self-care. And no, I'm not talking about that type of self-care, though if that's one of your ways, then go for it. But this will be more like healthier self-care, in all honesty, making sure that you and your body are running like at maximum efficiency, essentially, because if you are under a huge amount of stress and also, eating like a raccoon and being a couch potato and stuff and not getting sleep, it's going to take a toll on you. So we are going to go over that, and one of the biggest sources we're going to use is actually Embracing Holistic Self-Care, 8 Types of Self-Care for Lasting Wellness, from the Scottsdale Recovery website. And I liked this one because it goes over so much different stuff, because a lot of the times you think of, maybe just getting sleep or maybe exercising or eating like a healthy meal every once in a while, but there are so many different things, like just to kind of get your mind and body away from that stress and just being in a relaxed state, because if you are always running at full steam, you are going to burn out, and if your battery is not charged, you can't help anyone else charge theirs. So, as always, please know that I'm not a trained professional. The views expressed on this podcast are those of the host, and in the future, other hosts or guests, and do not constitute professional advice unless otherwise stated by said guest. Please ensure you seek adequate and effective legal counsel to best protect yourself in this ever-changing system, especially outside of the state of Michigan. And as of right now, no real updates on anything. So the 8 different types of self-care we are going to look over are physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, intellectual, environment, social, and financial. And like I said, each one is important. I mean, a lot of the times I hear about physical and mental. I don't really ever hear about a lot of the other ones, especially from like doctors and everything, because their main focus is honestly really the first two. And the first one, physical, is one I've been really working on lately. I've been trying to eat more meals that I make myself, trying to eat out less. I've been just so busy during the past 3 years that a lot of the times it was like 2-3 hours of sleep, and then I was getting kids and trying to balance, any type of housework on top of trying to get them from school, trying to shove some sleep in there, working sometimes over full-time 12-hour shifts when I was working at one job. So it was a lot of fast food, a lot of low sleep, not much exercise outside of, being at a job that was a little bit more physically demanding, but even then it wasn't terrible. But for physical care, you can do different things. I've actually downloaded an app where it's like 5-minute workouts. I think I'm up to 7 minutes right now, but I do them in my living room, and my dogs annoy me. Canoe believes that I am on the ground for him to annoy, so he's been an absolute menace when it comes to trying to work out, but absolutely needed some days with how adorable he is. But getting moving, I've been trying to take them for walks as well, kind of get them moving, get their energy burnt off. And I've honestly, just from the couple minutes of exercises I've been doing, I've noticed like a lot more energy. I don't always feel quite as stressed out. I was stressed out this morning, but I think it was like from too much caffeine, so I think that was more of the issue. I want to like look at yoga and other stuff like that where it'll help calm my body. And this goes with like rest and sleep. You want to aim for, I know Arnold Schwarzenegger said 6, but sometimes you need more, especially on the days where I'm only getting like 4 to 6. I find myself sleeping longer on the weekends, and I was hard on myself for a while, but then realized that I'm trying to like burn myself out with housework and chores and kids and doing like podcasts, trying to be a good friend and game with my brothers, and just wearing myself out, and then realize that it's all right for me to sleep a little bit on the weekends. I've been trying to get rid of like alcohol and stuff like that, caffeine that hurts your sleep cycles, and in doing this I'm hoping it like continues to bring me more energy. My muscles hurt because of some medical stuff, but I would love to not sleep all the time like I was in the past, and I've felt like exercising has definitely helped with that. And one of my biggest things that I've been working on is nutritious eating and like making my own meals. I've eaten out at fast food a lot just because it is convenient and it's not that best for you, and it's just led me to gain weight. And once I've always been around 230 pounds, but once I hit that 240 mark, it's just like my brain kicked into gear and was like, this is absolutely unacceptable. You've been 230 for a few years, so I could deal with that. I could justify that, I gained 60 pounds after I left the military. I wasn't active as much and I had so much going on, but it's absolutely unacceptable in the long run. So I've been trying to take care of my physical stuff like the doctor. I've lost 7 pounds in the last month, which isn't a ton, but I mean, that's good for just adding exercise to my diet and cutting out like fast food, soda, and stuff like that. And even then, I do still have sodas every once in a while, or I have like sugar-free ones. And I mean, the sugar-free ones aren't good for your health either, but honestly, what is anymore? And on number 2, that is mental self-care. That's like mindfulness and meditation, according to the website, relaxation techniques. Progressive relaxation is actually one that I've wanted to try, and I've had something from the VA doctors, and I slacked so much on it. I used to do it every once in a while, but I think that would be absolutely beneficial to everything and help me get rid of some of my stress. And I do want to get back into therapy. I just elected for no health insurance next year, so unfortunately I'm going to have to rely on the VA or something else to do that. So that's one that's going to be up in the air for a little bit. But I also want to do, like I said before, the meditation and yoga and stuff like that, and trying to just calm my mind. My mind's running 24/7, especially having kids, which it's never their fault. I chose to do it, and they're not a burden on me, but I am the type of person who always worries about everything and messing up, especially after the way the last 3 years have gone. I've just worried about everything I've done and what I've done right and what I've done wrong, and just having so much in my emotional bank that I really don't have any idea what to do with. So I'd love to work on that some more. I believe that would be so helpful to being like a foster parent, even just like a parent in general, because while I am a foster parent, I kind of want to make this podcast and give resources to even like new parents. I get that I'm not the same and I haven't raised a baby from like baby, but with the infant, I did learn a lot of different resources like WIC and infant mental health and early on. So I believe I could help with everything like that. Maybe that would help with my stress levels and help get a balance on life, to be honest. And on to number 3, emotional self-care. This is one I've struggled with for like a long time. Just being aware of my emotions. I know sometimes I've been a little too emotional or reacted in a way, like being too, I guess, taking stuff too personally, and it's just kind of hurt. And I've not really looked at it from the other person's perspective, especially of like a teenage kid. And I'm trying to be like more understanding of that. And like on here it says journaling, and that's what I've been trying to like do, especially with this podcast. It just helps me get my emotions out there. And like the one book I read from Dr. Becky Owens, The Reset Method, was honestly enlightening. It's a short read and it's good. It reminded me of so many different things, showed me so many other different things, and just reminded me to step back and take a second and look at things from like other people's perspectives and find out what's going on before I jump on something and do something that I honestly regret, or say something that I would honestly regret too, and being unintentionally hurtful, which I know I've done in the past, and I've tried to work on that. I've always been honest and apologized for the things I've done. And number 4 is spiritual self-care, and I see this like AA. In AA, they say higher power, and from every meeting I've gone to, it doesn't always mean like a deity, like God. It's whatever higher power you're looking to and helping to alleviate, I guess, your woes and like worries and stuff in the world, and just giving you something to push towards and make yourself a better person, which anyone who uses religion to be a better person is a superstar in my book. I know they've been used for a lot of bad things, and I'm not religious. I'm more, I guess, agnostic. I believe there's a higher power, but I don't know what he's doing up there, especially in terms of this crazy world. But just get out there and do things that align with your, like the site says, your values and your sense of purpose. I've tried volunteering. I've done a few different things, especially trying with animals, but with fostering, it's just, I mean, a lot of work, and I'd rather draw back my volunteering efforts and put them here and make sure that I'm a good person here and not being a good person in volunteering and then being a dirtbag at home and being miserable to live with. I want to make sure that I grow as a person and be the best person for like the kids that we have in our care, no matter what, and make up for like, you know, the mistakes, like in the accidental things I said that were probably hurtful, and making sure I'm always improving as a person. And number 5 is intellectual self-care, which I've been trying to do a lot more of, especially between the Reset Method. I'm also going to be reading another book called Union of Dads. Well, that's actually not the name of it. I listened to his entire podcast. So the Dad's Child Custody Action Plan, which is written by David Pizzara, who has actually reached out to the podcast. So I listen to all of his podcasts. I want to get the book and read it and kind of go over everything and talk with him. And so I've been trying to step out of my comfort zone. I haven't read books in years. I'd love to get back into reading books. I mean, the Reset Method alone was, granted I did that when at work, but I'd love to get back into reading and, keeping my mind sharp. I've dulled it so much with just video games and just social media, and I absolutely hate myself for it. So I want to actually do that and be able to have like an engaging conversation with my friends. It's not like, hey, what'd you do in Call of Duty or Battlefield or stuff like that. I want to actually have an engaging conversation where I can be like, I learned this about being a parent and trying to be a better person, or I learned how to woodwork or grow flowers. I mean, I especially love like house plants and taking care of those because it brings back good memories of my great grandma. So I've been trying to do that and hoping like I can keep doing all this stuff and help with my stress. And it seems to be, I like art and definitely doing art with the kids. That's always been super beneficial in my mind, and I've loved doing it. I've kept all of it and have found it so beneficial, honestly, not even just for them, but also for me. It gets me off my phone, which I think is always a great thing. And number 6 is like environmental self-care, which is not even like your outside environment, like your yard or anything. While it is like going outside and doing gardening, which I've actually gotten back into the last year. I have 2 peach trees, 2 cherry trees. I planted an apple, but I think Canoe ate half of it. I just planted 2 pear trees in the front yard, blackberry bushes, blueberry bushes, strawberry bushes, black raspberry, went all out in turning my yard into a fruit production facility essentially. And while extremely time consuming, it's also been super relaxing, and it was nice to be able to have the fruit and everything. So absolutely have loved all of it and can't wait to keep doing that. And I've been working on here it says decluttering and organizing your living space. I've been trying to do that. I've been trying to work on the environment of my house, the house plants and improving the air quality, recycling, getting rid of chemicals that are bad, unneeded, unnecessary, and just trying to improve the condition of my house in general. It's while stressful sometimes, it has been honestly something that has helped get my mind off from a lot of the other stressful stuff. While cleaning and organizing my house is stressful in one way, it's super rewarding in the end, and honestly has been so beneficial to just the cohesion of my house and everything, and been something that honestly keeps my mind pretty sharp with just coming up with new ways to organize and donating unneeded junk that I've clustered for so long and selling a bunch of it and just kind of getting rid of all the different stuff. And number 7 is a huge one that I found, social self-care, which is quality times with the people in your life, making sure you're communicating with other people. Don't lock yourself up in your room and avoid people. Honestly, from what I can tell you, when I did drink pretty heavily, that was always the time where I drank the heaviest, was when I locked myself away. Wondered why people never invited me out, but never reached out to anyone, and just kind of made myself miserable. I mean, we are social creatures, even if sometimes it's exhausting. It is nice to sit down and talk with somebody and have a good conversation and laugh and share memories and stuff like that, especially if it's family you haven't seen in a while. Make sure you make time for the important people in your life, such as siblings, which I've been trying to do, my nephews, my dad, this family in general, my mom, and making sure that I'm trying to be a better person in that aspect, because I haven't always been the greatest about getting home to see them, especially when I was working in law enforcement corrections. I spent so much time working and focusing on that everything else got set on the back burner, and I missed so much time that I could have spent with my grandpa before he passed, and instead burnt it trying to chase a career that I absolutely despised. So make sure you take time for your loved ones. And while it may seem small for you, it might mean the world to them to, go have lunch one day or go do something else. I mean, Sunday after I left hanging out with my dad, I had lunch with my brother, and it was absolutely amazing just to kind of talk to him and hear how he's been doing, and have Chinese with him like we used to do all the time when he was younger and we hung out constantly. Because it's I've gone through with my 2 brothers, eventually, unfortunately, once they get older, they get busy as well, and it just becomes harder and harder to actually spend time together. So please, for anything, make sure you take time with your family. And finally, number 8 is financial self-care. This one's pretty self-explanatory. Budgeting, I can say, is a big one. Budget. If you've got subscriptions you don't use, cancel them. Save yourself that money. Plan for your future, whether it's stocks, 401ks. Make make sure you're just talking to somebody who's an expert on finances. Make sure you're managing your debt. You're not spending frivolously and blowing all your money and just stressing yourself out. Because I can say all the work we've had to have done on the house, and it all came within like 3 years, has been so stressful, and I'm working like overtime to get rid of it. But take the time to make sure that you focus on your finances and making sure that you got like, a little nest egg in case something happens, in case, you have to have your entire sewage line redone, because I had to do that and it was not cheap. And as my dad found out last week, getting a furnace is not cheap either. So make sure you just take a look at your finances. If you haven't budgeted and looked at what you're spending, do it, because you may be surprised at how much you're spending and it can cause you issues down the line. And with that, that's the 8 different things that Scottsdale Recovery mentions for self-care. There's a lot of different things you can look at. Just take time for yourself. Honestly, if you have to, adjust it so you can get your kids involved. You never know when one of them might be interested in the same things you did. For a few of the foster kids I've done like artwork with, I've done gardening and house plants and all this different stuff with, and it's been so beneficial during the good times and helped so much with bonding. And honestly, even with them being gone for like most of them, even the ones we've had like fallings out with and just had bad experiences in the end with, just know that it's good to take time for yourself, because self-care really isn't something you should push to the side. You don't have to be wealthy to take care of yourself or have a ton of time. It's necessary to just shed that stress and that, like everything, like the self-hatred and the overthinking. Just self-care gives you time away from that, because say your phone bill's late today and it's going to be late tomorrow. Stressing over it and not getting your mind clear is not going to help, because if you stress over it and just sit there, you're going to cause yourself more issues unless you're taking steps to deal with it, which you can do a whole lot better if you have a clear head, in my opinion. I've lived so stress-filled, or lived like such a stress-filled life, that it's caused a lot of issues. And it wasn't until I like stepped back with fostering and looked at my life and looked at everything and seen like, wow, my life was kind of a train wreck before all of this. And honestly, it's been so beneficial to just step back and look at all this and start doing this stuff, like start exercising, starting to cook and like help Cassie with her stuff so she doesn't have to do all of it, and just trying to make more time for art and non-video game and not phone, social media, doom scrolling, and all that garbage. So if not for yourself, for your family, take a couple minutes, take some self-care, just find out what you like and find out more about yourself, because if you're like me, there's a lot of stuff you've forgotten about for a long time that kid inside of you finds joy in, and you should want to fulfill those needs of that, inner child and just that person who's been stressed out for so long. But as always, thank you so much for listening. Please like, subscribe, share, and email fosterdaddirective@gmail.com with any feedback, ideas, or stories. I'd love to hear from you. We'll hopefully have some interviews coming up in the future. And as always, may your kids' chaos be funny after 5 minutes and not 5 years. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye.